Hello and welcome to a programme which this week is all about summer fish and shellfish. Fish is actually ideal for summer because it's very fast to cook and none of us wants to be in the kitchen when we've got lovely sunny days outside. It's also light to eat. But there is one little problem, and that is that sadly a lot of the family fishmongers up and down the country are closing down and disappearing. But I would urge you to go and look in the fish counter of your local supermarket, where you will find some very well prepared, well packed fish that is quite easily accessible and good to cook. Well, one of those is this one here, which is Mediterranean prawns. These are lovely fat juicy prawns, and we're going to make a salad. Well, it's actually called hot and sour prawns, but it's like a salad and very light and summery. But before I begin the recipe, I just want to show you how to deal with these. If they come in the shells, they don't always. Sometimes you can get them in a pack with the shells off. But if they come in the shells, this is how to deal with them. You just pull off the head, first of all, and any little bits around it. And then, underneath the fish, where the feet are, you can peel off the skin. It's like a little Macintosh, really, and it comes off quite easily. You can see how nice and easy that's coming off. Take away the legs. And the end bit down here needs to come off. But what I want for this recipe is to actually leave the tails on. We're not going to eat the tails, but they actually look nice and pretty. And then the next thing you need to do is to take a knife, a sharp knife, and just run it along the back of the prawn like this. Still got a little bit of shell there that I haven't taken off. And then, inside, if I open it out, you can see there's a sort of black thread there. And what you need to do is take the thread out, use the knife and just push it out with the knife. In fact, it's actually better to do this under a cold running tap. But I just wanted to show you the procedure. And then your prawn will be washed and ready to go. And what we've got here are 16 fat, juicy Mediterranean prawns, and they're going to go in a dish. And then they're going to have some other ingredients along with them. And the first one is this lovely creature. This is a yellow pepper. Lovely and summery looking, I think, yellow peppers are. And you need half of this, so just take off half the pepper with a sharp knife. Remove the pips, the seeds inside. And there's sometimes a little bit in the top there that needs to come out. And then slice it into lovely thin slices. And the slices are going in to join the prawns. If there's any pithy bits, just pull those out as you go. Now, I don't know about you in your family and amongst your friends, but I find that more and more people are becoming what I call semi-vegetarian. And that means that really quite a lot of fish is needed because semi-vegetarians, although they've given up meat, they still eat fish. So it's good to have lots of nice fish recipes up your sleeve. So slice them really, really thinly like that. And then they go in to join the prawns, which is a nice, pretty colour contrast. And then I've got some red pepper, which has been prepared in the same way, just sliced up really nice and thinly. And then the next ingredient is a red onion. And this also, half of this we're going to use. This is also a nice ingredient to have around in the summer because it looks so pretty. Just lovely, the colour of red onion. That goes into nice thin slices. And then you separate the slices into rings. And so now we're getting even more pretty colour contrast. And then a few slices of lemon, about half a lemon. Which just gives that nice sort of zesty lemony flavour. Again, thin slices, nice sharp knife. In we go. And now it's going to have another ingredient, which is capers. Wonderful, lovely capers. I think capers were invented especially to go with fish. They really do taste lovely. And you need to have a tablespoonful of capers. These were a special present to me from somebody who's been to Greece for their holiday, Corfu in fact, so these are Greek capers, they're very special ones. So they go in next. Give a nice little bit of piquancy. Now we're going to make a marinade to pour over that, and in my jug here I've got measured out 1/4 pint of light olive oil, and that's going to have 2 fluid ounces of cider vinegar to join it. I think cider vinegar is just the right one for this. 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of English mustard powder, which I always think gives a nice kick to sauces, 1 teaspoonful of sugar, just helps to take off the sharpness, and then the juice of 2 limes. Now it's going to have the hot, and we're going to use a dessert spoon of Tabasco sauce. Give it a little shake first. And if you think, wow, that sounds really fiery, it isn't, I promise you. It's got that nice kick in it, this marinade, but it really isn't too hot. Dessert spoon of that. And then good old English ingredient next, Worcester sauce. Dessert spoon of Worcester sauce. And just a little bit of freshly ground pepper. Give it all a good whisk. And then you pour this over the rest of the ingredients, the marinade, and the good news about this recipe is they're now going to sit the prawns in the marinade for 48 hours. So that's marvellous, because if you're inviting somebody for a summer meal, it means you can get the whole thing done 2 days before your guests arrive. Cover it with cling film, put it in the fridge, and then take it out for about an hour before you want to serve it. And then when you're ready to serve it, you can garnish it with a few sprigs of coriander. Fresh coriander has a lovely flavour with this. And just a few slices of lime, which give also a nice appearance and a colour to the dish. And I like to serve this with some homemade bread. This is a nice chunky whole wheat bread, and it's made with poppy seeds and sunflower seeds. And the recipe for that is in the book. Serve it with bread and butter, and there you are, a lovely summery lunch dish, hot and sour pickled prawns.
And now I want to show you chilled marinated trout with fennel. This is served with a white wine and tomato flavoured sauce. And you begin by taking 3/4 teaspoon of black peppercorns, the same amount of coriander seeds, and 1/2 teaspoon of fennel seeds. Then work them into a powder using a pestle and mortar. Dry roast the powder for about a minute to draw out the flavour, then add a little oil to the pan. Extra virgin olive oil is best, as it has a more fruity flavour. When it's really hot, cook a finely chopped onion and a clove of garlic for about 5 minutes. Next, add a pound of chopped skinned tomatoes, a tablespoon of lemon juice and another one of white wine vinegar, then 8 fluid ounces of dry white wine. When it begins to bubble, season and then add 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. Now trim and slice 1 head of fennel and add this to the pan. Place the trout in the sauce, baste it a bit and simmer for 10 minutes on each side. Meanwhile, prepare a garnish of 2 tablespoons of flat leaf parsley, the zest of a lemon, the chopped leaves of the fennel and 2 chopped spring onions. Cool the trout, sprinkle on the garnish and serve.
Now I want to show you a recipe for what I think is my most favourite fish, and that's skate wings, which I think have the sweetest flesh perhaps of all fish. And this recipe is for skate wings cooked in warm green salsa, and you start off by taking 2 skate wings and coating them in seasoned flour. And I know that skate wings do have bones in them in the centre, but I just want to tell you, if you haven't eaten them before, that the bones are really quite soft and gelatinous. And when the fish is cooked, the flesh separates very easily from the bones, and they really don't get in the way of eating. Now, have in a frying pan a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. Turn the heat up high And we're going to cook the skate wings for about 4 minutes on each side. And while they're cooking, we're going to make a sauce. So as soon as it's really hot, in they go. Number 1 and number 2. They've got to go into hot fat, and then as soon as you feel that they've seized up on one side, just turn the heat down a little bit. And then while they're having their first 4 minutes, you can get on with making the sauce. This is adapted from an Italian sauce called salsa verde, and you start off with a pestle and mortar with a clove of garlic, a whole clove of garlic, and then you add half a teaspoon of rock salt. This is flaked rock salt, which has a much saltier, nicer flavour than ordinary salt. And this is the way to crush a clove of garlic, or the best way, is to just smash it up and then mix it with the salt, and it quickly becomes a cream. When I first started cooking on television, I was showing people how to crush a clove of garlic with the flat of a small knife, and it flipped up like a tiddlywink and hit the cameraman in the eye. So I'm not going to do that today. There we are. That's to a paste now. And the next ingredient I'm going to add is the juice of 2 limes. So that'll go in with the salt and the garlic. And next ingredient is grain mustard, a heaped teaspoon of grain mustard. Give that a little swirl in. And next, capers again. I do like capers with fish. And this sauce, made with capers, has this lovely sort of Mediterranean flavour. There we are, a tablespoonful of capers. And then in front of me here, I've got some anchovies. So the anchovies are going to go in now, but I'm just going to snip them up into small pieces. When you use anchovies, don't put any salt in anything, because anchovies are quite salty and they provide the salt. So that's the anchovies. And now we're going to use some nice fruity extra virgin olive oil, 2 tablespoons. Give it another mix. And then it's going to have some fresh herbs. The wonderful, wonderful basil, first of all, about a tablespoonful of that, and a couple of tablespoons of this, which is flat leaf parsley. Now, it actually tastes the same as curly parsley, but it's nice. I've been growing it this year just to have something different, and it's very good, actually, for decoration. It's nice for garnishes, flat leaf parsley. Once you start to chop basil, in fact, from the time you pick it to the time you finish chopping it, you get this absolutely fantastically wonderful aroma. And that begins to make me feel hungry. One more chop. And then the herbs will go in to join the rest of the ingredients. Give it another good mix and put a little bit of freshly milled pepper in before you do that. And now we take the sauce over to the fish and then turn the fish over and give it some more cooking on the other side. So over it goes onto the other side. Number 1 and then number 2. And then that just needs to be cooked now for another 4 minutes. It's quite funny because as you watch them cooking, their wings sort of flap up and down a little bit. They look as if they're going to take off. So now we're going to add the sauce. Just give it a little mix and then pour it into the saucepan, frying pan, sorry. Round the fish, over the top. And all that needs to happen, give the pan a shake, All that needs to happen now is for that sauce to just heat through and then heat out, and it's ready to serve. Skate wings with warm green salsa.
One of the great delicacies to be found here in East Anglia are the crabs that come from Cromer and all along the North Norfolk coast. Early in the morning, traditional small wooden boats like these are still unloading the day's catch on the beach.
Thank you very much.
These are very much small family businesses, handed down from father to son, thankfully so that we can all taste the delicacy of freshly caught crab.
Now I have to make a confession and tell you that I'm not really a real cook, because I couldn't possibly boil a live crab, and you're supposed to if you're a real cook. But anyway, if you can only get a crab that's already boiled in its shell, then I have given all the step-by-step instructions as to how to dress a crab in the cookery course. But if you get the ready-dressed crabs, you usually get about 4 ounces in each one. And so I'm using 2 of those, emptied out here on my plate to make 8 ounces of crab, to show you a recipe for a crab salad vinaigrette. But I just want to talk about one ingredient, and that's this one here. These are continental cornichons. What's a cornichon, you're thinking? Well, it actually is a gherkin. But somehow or other, some of the gherkins you buy, the English ones, have very strong vinegar that takes the roof of your mouth off, and they're not really good for this recipe. So if you can get the continental ones, they're milder and they're crunchier, and I think they have a much better flavour. Just hunt around for cornichons. Now, I've got all my ingredients for the vinaigrette here. First of all, the cornichons, 2 large ones chopped. If they're small, you'll probably need 4, but that amount. Then next door, I've got a shallot that's been finely chopped, tablespoon of coriander that's also been finely chopped, the zest of a lime, and a tablespoon of capers. And then to make the vinaigrette, I'm going to start off with some wine vinegar, 1 tablespoon of white wine vinegar. That goes in first, followed by the juice of a lime, which is about 2 tablespoons, and then a tablespoon of light olive oil. This vinaigrette is different from other vinaigrettes, and it has actually more lime juice and vinegar than it does oil, because the richness of crab meat. Now we're just going to put in a few drops of Tabasco sauce. I think that's about 6 drops. Some salt and some freshly milled pepper. Couldn't be easier, this recipe. And now the crab is going to join the vinaigrette mixture. Into the bowl it goes. And then we're going to go in and give it a good mixing. In fact, I'll switch to a fork. And it's beginning to look lovely colour. It's the nice thing about crab meat, is it always looks such a pretty colour.
Shape the crab into little rounds and serve it with some mixed dressed salad leaves.
Now I want to show you one of my favourite recipes for crab. This one's called Rosti crab cakes. And I don't know, I've got a thing about fish cakes. I think they're very good to serve, because people who don't like to eat whole fish, or they don't like bones and things like that, it's nice to eat fish as a fish cake. And these, I think, are 5-star fish cakes. Now you start off with some dressed crab, 8 ounces of dressed crab in a bowl. That's 1 sort of medium size, or 2 little ones I find yield 8 ounces. And then, as I've said before, we need lots of sharp in there to counteract the richness. So we're going to have a tablespoonful of lime juice, first of all, and then a little bit of grated zest of lime, and about a teaspoonful of this altogether, which is probably about 2 or 3 scrapings with the zester. Wonderful aroma when you do this. I just think something about limes and summer that matches so well. Right, a little bit of lime zest, and then some more sharp, and I've got here 2 spring onions, and these have been very, very finely chopped, and include the green part. Helps with the colour. Then a little bit more green, a tablespoon of freshly chopped coriander leaves, If you can't get coriander at all in any of the recipes, you can always use fresh chopped parsley. And these are capers again. Tablespoonful. If they're very large, you can chop them, but I think the size of those is okay. Now, rosti is actually a Swiss potato dish, and it's made with grated potatoes. So I just want to show you how to do that. You start off with some potatoes that are nice and firm and waxy, and you put them into boiling water for just 10 minutes with the skins on, and then when they've cooked for 10 minutes, take them out, cool them, and peel off the skin. These are called salad potatoes in the supermarket, and they need to be firm and waxy because we're going to grate them on the coarse side of the grater. Don't forget to put a timer on, though, because 10 minutes goes by very quickly and I'm always overcooking them, so try not to do that. And then, when you've peeled them, grate them on the coarse side of the grater, taking the potato all the way down so that you get nice long strips of potato. It's very important in this for the looks of it. And while I'm grating the potatoes, they're not quite cooked. You can sort of hear they're a little bit raw inside because they're going to be cooked with the crab cakes. Just let me tell you that you can make rosti fish cakes with any kind of fish. They work extremely well with salmon. I've done your recipe for salmon rosti fish cakes. They work very well with any white fish, and they also work with salt cod. Salt cod is dried cod, salted, which you soak overnight in several changes of water. I'd like to see more of it around. It's got a wonderful flavour, and I think makes very, very good fish cakes. So there we are. I haven't told you the amount of potatoes here, but it's 5 ounces. So there's a few little bits there that aren't grated. Now I'm going to just transfer the grated potato over to my bowl here. Pick up any escaped bits. And then I'm going to go in with a fork, very, very gently, and just mix and toss the mixture together. And you need to be gentle because you've taken a lot of trouble to get little strips of grated potato which match the little strips of crab, and you don't want to break them up too much, so just gently mix it all together. And then it's going to have some seasoning, and the seasoning is a couple of pinches of cayenne pepper. Give it a little bit of a zing. Some salt. And I like to put a little bit of ground pepper in as well. I always like things fairly well seasoned. That's beginning to look a lovely pretty colour now. Now everything's thoroughly amalgamated. You divide it into about 8 portions. I find sort of roughly a heaped tablespoonful. Into your hands like this, and then begin to firm it up into a little cake. Now you need to go quite firm, pressing it together, because you've got to cook them and you don't want them to all fall to pieces. But while you're doing that, don't worry about these ragged edges, because they actually look very, very nice. And when you're frying them, which we're going to do in a minute, you'll find the raggedy edges crisp up, and they're very nice when you eat the fish cakes. Then you put them onto a plate, cover them with cling film, and you leave them for about 2 hours in the refrigerator because they need to really firm up. 2 hours minimum, but you can actually leave them all day if you want to. Then, to fry them, to cook them, you need some really hot fat. And that's another thing I have to tell you, is when you're making any kind of fish cakes or meat rissoles, anything like that, if you have trouble with them breaking up, it's usually because the fat isn't hot enough. So have the fat really, really hot. I can see a bit of smoke coming off there now, so I think we're okay. And here are the chilled crab cakes, and gently take them with a fish slice down into the hot fat. And they're going to take 3 minutes on the first side. Once they're in and they've seized up, you can turn the heat down a bit. And then 3 minutes on the other side. Right, now I want to show you some finished rosti fish cakes, and I've got them all lined up here. These are the salmon, and you don't need to cook the salmon first. You just chop up raw salmon and proceed as we did with the crab cakes. Next door we've got the crab cakes, which are like the ones we've just made. And then here, these are rosti fish cakes made with cod. Now I want to talk a little bit about accompaniments. Now I have to say that the very best thing in the world to serve with crab cakes is this here. This is a jar of pickled limes. They're very, very simple to make, and once they've been in the pickle, they have this wonderful, sharp, beautiful flavour of limes that just counteracts the richness of crab so perfectly. And I think they're very good with other fish cakes too. These two sauces I've got in front of me now, well, they're not sauces, they're actually called salsas, which is a Spanish Mexican term. And what they are is it's sort of halfway between a salad and a sauce, and it's just a mixture of chopped ingredients. This one is roasted sweet corn salsa, and you toast a head of sweet corn underneath the grill until it's nice and toasted. Take the kernels off and just mix them with finely chopped red onion, chopped coriander, lime juice, and a little bit of chopped red pepper you can see there, and a little bit of chopped tomato. And that is a wonderful sauce, salsa, to serve with any kind of fish cakes or any kind of fish, in fact. And then I've got another salsa over here. This one is made with avocado. And this is really like guacamole chopped up instead of being made into a puree. Finely chopped avocado, tomato, red onion again, coriander again, lime juice, and they've both got a little touch of Tabasco sauce in them, just to give them a little bit of heat. Right, well, that's 3 things to serve with fish cakes. If you want to actually cook some plain grilled fish in the summer, it's quite nice to have a nice summery sauce to go with them, so I'd like to show you that.
This is a quick tartar sauce made with lime and coriander. First of all, break a large egg into the bowl of a food processor. Season with salt and pepper, then add a small clove of garlic and half a teaspoon of mustard powder. Very slowly add 6 fluid ounces of light olive oil until the sauce has thickened. Then transfer it to a bowl and add 4 finely chopped small cornichons or gherkins, a tablespoon of chopped fresh coriander, the same of capers, and a dessert spoon of lime juice. Mix well, and one way to use this is to spread a tablespoon of it over any kind of fish fillet, sprinkle with a mixture of breadcrumbs, cheese and coriander and a little bit of lime zest, place under a hot grill and grill for 10 to 15 minutes. And this is one of the best fast supper dishes I know.
Well, that completes our programme on summer fish, but don't forget to come back next time because we'll be doing some holiday cooking at home. See you then.